Hello everyone, my name is Mike Centauri. Um, Today, for my apocalypse, we will be looking at mega tsunamis and tsunamis. Just a little, we'll have some background information about tsunamis to start out, and then we'll get into building a case for a possible mega tsunami and an apocalypse. First off, to know more about mega tsunamis, we need to know about tsunamis. So, what is a tsunami? Tsunami is the Japanese word for harbor wave. They are typically not apocalyptic waves as we think of them being, and they're not one giant 1,000-foot wave, but a series of large, very long waves that come in a succession. This allows for them to travel much farther inland and destroy many structures. So this is actually a photo of the tsunami in Japan that happened either late 2011 or early 2012. I can't remember exactly. Um, but yes, so this is that photo right here. And you could actually see the tsunami coming over the wall here, and it's like picked up some cars, but it's not really a giant wave that we think of it as. It's more of a rolling thing, just tons of water, just destroys everything. Um, so, how do tsunamis form? Tsunamis can form in a bunch of different ways. Typically, we think of earthquakes causing tsunamis, but actually, it takes a 7.5 earthquake on the Richter scale to generate one, which is actually quite a large earthquake. Um, so they could also be triggered by underwater landslides, volcano flank collapses, asteroids, submarine, volcanic explosions also. And for a tsunami to be generated, a large amount of water needs to be displaced. You can't have an earthquake that's on a slip fault underneath the water. The water needs to be displaced vertically, or needs to be some sort of uplift or downshift in the ocean floor, or large amounts of water to be displaced in order to form a tsunami. All right, so mega tsunamis, are they possible? And the short answer is absolutely yes. There's a place called Litua Bay, Alaska. Now, here in this bay, there was a mountain that was very unstable at the end of the bay, and a large portion of the mountain, there was a mass wasting event, and it fell off into the bay. It created a tsunami wave, a height of 524 meters, which in feet is 1,719 feet tall. A wave. Put that into perspective, that would dwarf most of the buildings in Manhattan. The Freedom Tower is only 1,776 feet tall, and that is the tallest building in southern Manhattan. So we need to think about it like that. This wave was just, you can't even imagine it in an actual photo. That would be truly apocalyptic. Okay, so number 3, climate change and why climate change could help contribute to tsunamis being in turn more deadly and a apocalyptic tsunami. So, mangrove forests, believe it or not, actually help reduce tsunamis. As the quote says here, some models using realistic forest variables suggest significant reductions in tsunami wave flow pressure for forests at least 100 meters in width. So the problem is here is that, well, the forests are disappearing due to climate change. Sea levels rising cause the roots to be too inundated. I mean, there already are, but they're mangrove trees. But either way, causes even more issues for them, and they die off. So, if we're losing more mangrove trees, tsunamis that hit places where these mangrove trees are currently present will be more severely affected. And I got the Caribbean here. This will transition to our next point. We have the Caribbean history of getting hit with tsunamis. The tsunamis would either have to generate within the Caribbean or across the ocean, possibly in the middle of the ocean, which would therefore leave the east coast of the United States exposed. So, as the text says, tsunamis in the Caribbean are not super prominent. They don't happen every day. They're more of a rare event. However, basically to sum up this big block of text on the bottom here, is that Puerto Rico once had a mass wasting event on the north side of the island. Large chunks of the island fell into the ocean all at once, most likely creating a mega tsunami that would have headed north and probably hit either the northern east coast of the U.S. or Canada, parts of Canada. Long story short is that this could have happened on Hispaniola or something. Maybe it doesn't have to be now, but it could happen at some point and taken out the whole entire eastern seaboard of the United States, which up until more recent years would not have been as important. But that, since the U.S. has emerged as the economic power of the world, losing such a massive portion of the eastern seaboard could cause a giant issue. So again, threats to the U.S. We're going over here. So where else can we see these scenarios of mass wasting across the world? The Canary Islands were one. If you had saw that little tab down there, we'll get there soon. But this typically happens on volcanic islands, which some of the Caribbean islands are not. So, but some of them are. But another one that we can see on Hawaii is, it actually has a name. It's called the Great Crack, and you can see this happening very slowly. On the Big Island of Hawaii, there's a giant crack. It's expected that that slab, because Hawaii is a shield volcano, could possibly have a mass wasting event into the ocean and create a giant tsunami, a giant wave. From however that happens, I don't know, but it is extremely possible. So we're going to talk about the Canary Islands, which are also volcanic islands, which are prone to these mass wasting events. They are located off northwestern Africa and are under the control of Spain. So these islands could possibly generate a giant tsunami. This estimate down here by this article says 20 to 25 meters, but that's no fun. We don't want to think about that. We want to think about, what if we had a tsunami that was possibly 1,000 feet tall, like the Lituya Bay tsunami in Alaska, hit the east coast of the United States. Theoretically, it's possible. Most likely, it would never be that tall. It's a ridiculous height. But, why not? It's possible. A tsunami of such a size would cause massive economic devastation to the U.S. and therefore the world. So we're going to talk about the damage and the economic impacts. So assuming a tsunami hits the population megacity of the east coast of the United States, we can be safe to say if it was a mega tsunami, we'd probably be able to surpass the most deadly tsunami of, I believe it was 350,000 people dead in Indonesia. Now these stats are from Indonesia, and it says, according to the estimates by the Asian Development Bank, the waves from Indonesia flattened 115,000 houses and severely damaged another 150,000. And most estimates for this tsunami that occurred in 2004 put the cost at over $4.5 billion. That is a less developed country than the U.S. So I believe that the costs of hitting a city like New York City with however many people, 20 million, 19, I don't know how many they have. There's a lot of people there. Hitting it with a 1,000-foot wave would most likely kill almost everyone located in the city. And the reason why this could be qualified as an apocalyptic event, if such an event was to happen, is because the economic center of the world would be completely devastated. The U.S. would not be able to probably help rebuild most of the East Coast because it'll be too devastated to help itself out. Of course, other countries may come to our aid, but with the economic center of the world being taken out, either China will be able to pick up the slack, or other economies around the world will be able to pick up the slack, or the whole entire system will collapse. And we know that when economic systems collapse, governments don't usually tend to do too well, and this could lead to chaos. So that is my scenario for an apocalyptic world of mega tsunamis.